Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, my name is Michael Jones. I'm the president of TMA BlueTech. We are thrilled to have you with us. I wish it was in person, but we are all dealing with COVID-19, and hopefully soon we will have some very effective vaccines so that we can come and visit with you and you can visit us as well. This is the first time that we have had a virtual event. And as I told people this morning, we had about 575 people signed up as of this morning from 29 countries. And they will be coming on depending on which event is of most interest to them. We, however, really wanted to start reaching out to clusters and clusters in formation in Asia Pacific. And so this is the first time that we've been able to do this, and we're thrilled to begin this process with all of you. Again, hopefully next year we will be able to, you can visit us and we can visit you. We had visits last year twice from the Shizuoka province of Japan as they were putting together their cluster, and also twice last year from the Korea Maritime Institute, the national maritime think tank of Korea that is also putting a cluster together. And then our various discussions with Taiwan also appear that there is interest to put a cluster together. We have been in touch with a cluster in Western Australia that was unable to join us today, but it appears that somebody from the state of Victoria will be joining us from Australia. And we've been talking with New Zealand Trade and Enterprise about creating a cluster, and there appears to be interest in that. And we also have reached out to countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, also inquiring about interest to create clusters. We are very interested in finding partners in Asia. And so we look forward to our dialogue this evening and then continuing that so that we can find opportunities to collaborate. I would like to introduce Craig McLean, who is the Assistant Administrator for Research at NOAA. And then I will come back and talk a little bit about the BlueTech Cluster Alliance. And then we will go through the presentations from each of you so we can learn from you. And then a little later, we ask one of our member companies, BioLargo, that has a relationship with a Korean company to come on and talk about what they're trying to do in Asia. And then separate from my work at TMA BlueTech, I also started a company with two partners, and we're looking for partners in Asia as well. So I thought this would be a way for us to start talking about companies and begin to think about what you have in your countries and ways that we can work together. So that's kind of the agenda. We want to hear from the three countries in particular, Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, but everyone will have a chance to participate. So Craig, thank you again for coming along, starting early morning with us and late evening your time in Washington, D.C. And I'd like to hand it over to you to say some welcome words and maybe do a little recap from this morning.
Michael, thank you very much. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our friends, and welcome to the folks who are joining us for the first time. This is, I believe, the 5th year that I've been joining Michael Jones as a facilitator for the course of this session. And the design of this session is to explain to interested parties how and why the clusters, the marine technology clusters, really work very well in the interests of multiple communities, whether they be the host cluster themselves or the aligned partner clusters in different parts of the world. And I share in the delight in seeing the level of representation coming from the Pacific community, where we have not yet had the opportunity to extend much in the way of our time in discussing these opportunities. We started our session this morning with some presentations from the European Union and from countries in and around the Atlantic area. And we're realizing that between the North American and European continents, we have seen the model of clusters, these blue technology clusters or ocean technology clusters, really come along in number, starting with very few. And Michael Jones began the very first one in San Diego, California, and quickly then saw clusters appearing in other parts of the United States, in Canada, in Europe. And the recipe of these clusters seems to be working very, very well and producing results for those who are participating. The cluster structure starts with a business outlook, joined by potentially government sponsorship and support, and academic intellect and support. And putting the three together is what Michael has over time described as the triple helix, which is the magical molecular construct of having three different parts of our ocean society joined together in order to produce something far greater than any one alone could possibly do. And the results are that in these clusters, we see economic gain, we see new companies being built, and new ideas being emerged into the ocean science and water science worlds. So the conversation we had this morning reinforced the value of the model of the technology clusters. It reinforced the value of the triple helix of industry, government, and academia working together, and has been producing a series of companies and economic opportunities around the world. A very important note that we conclude from our discussions today and for each of the previous years is that the clusters do not compete with each other. They help and work for and with each other and provide opportunities that would be farther reaching than any single enterprise could do amongst themselves. So this recipe has been very successful. The increasing number of participants is striking and very impressive. And we're delighted to see the opportunity presented here in the presence of interest from several countries from Asia and the Pacific. So, Michael, after a very successful 6th session of this forum, I will turn back to you then for some further remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig. Melissa, can you bring up my presentation on BTCA, please? So you may note that my background says the BlueTech Cluster Alliance. And this is an organization that we created 3 years ago. And we now have 10 clusters in 8 countries that are collaborating. And I'd like to give you a quick overview of what that looks like. when Melissa's able to pull it up.
I'm working on it, Michael, just a moment. So if you can start and I'll join.
Okay. So what we did was we have, as Craig McLean said, there's a real impetus in Europe to promote clusters. And the European Union has a cluster collaboration network. And we had someone this morning speaking about what the European Union is doing to promote clusters in Europe and outreach. And you will all be interested to know that the countries like Australia, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan were all mentioned as places where they would like to do outreach from the European Union with their clusters. So that was very good. And we took us about 2 years to get to a point that we could sign an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. And so today we now have 10 clusters in 8 countries, which I will go through in a minute. Those countries are Canada, France, Ireland, Norway, Portugal, Spain, the United Kingdom, and the United States. As you will note, we do not have anybody from Asia yet, but we are looking forward to that changing in the future. So one of the reasons that we wanted to run this session with you was in fact so that we could explain both the BlueTech Cluster Alliance and then how it has helped our various companies. Melissa, if you cannot find it, I should have it.
Michael, I found it. I just have to get to screen sharing. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. So I believe that you are all very conversant with what a traditional cluster does. A cluster sits in the middle between the triple helix, which is academia and education as one leg of the stool, industry as a second leg of the stool, and then policymakers, which includes elected officials, military, NGO, press, anybody that influences policy. Each of them has different needs, different things they're trying to accomplish. But what we have found is that where they overlap is in trying to understand societal needs and solutions. Of course, they're interested in economic growth, which means they're interested in jobs. And so that's why we are interested in working across the triple helix. And all of our partner clusters also deal across the triple helix. Next slide, please. So the BlueTech Cluster Alliance was launched in January of 2017. I'm not going to read all of this. You can see our mission. You can see our goals. I told you that we have 10 clusters from 8 countries, and they are shown here. These are really our partners. And we have obligated ourselves to try and help each other to find opportunities. Most of those opportunities will be either to do look for grants together, and in particular in Europe, a number of these clusters have worked together. And we are increasingly working business to business so that we will try and help on our side of the Atlantic or the Pacific and our partners in other countries will do the same. So we're trying to create win-win situations in multiple countries. Next, please. There is a process to join. You don't need to write this down. It's on our website. The website is shown down below, .org. And so the criteria to join are there, and the process to join is there. And of course, we look forward to working with you as you are maturing your respective clusters. We are trying to figure out how to create an affiliate program initially, which will work with clusters in formation. And then as they get more mature, where they could join the BlueTech Cluster Alliance. So our goal is to work with clusters that are in formation, and of course, those that are more mature. Next, please. This is really the last substantive slide, and I wanted to give you an example of how we are working together. So we have launched something called ARC, and it's in the very bottom, you can see arc.blue, B-L-U-E, because we realize that there is a need for long distance testing facilities for autonomous vessels and sensors, what we would call long duration and long residence. So the goal of ARC, as you can see, is to create and manage a unique set of facilities and long distance testing courses for use by companies, government agencies, and NGOs for long distance and long-term position testing backed up by a 24/7 operations center. The reason I give this example is that of the 4 founding partners, 3 of them are members of BlueTech Cluster Alliance. We would not have been able to do this if we did not already know each other, trust each other, and know that we would all work to a common good. So I would like to say that the BlueTech Cluster Alliance is a network, an opportunity for someone or for clusters to get to know each other and then find ways to work together. And the work together is cluster to cluster, business to business, and of course, working with our government partners. And Craig is here representing NOAA, part of the Department of Commerce. And on this call, there's at least 2 other people from the Department of Commerce, from the US Commercial Service as well. So these are our partners in various parts of the world, and I would say your partner potential as well. So that's the end of that presentation. What we'd like to do is now really hear from the 3 of you. Melissa is correcting me because I always like to end on this slide. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, which is an African proverb. And we really believe that we need each other and we need to collaborate. So again, tonight may be the first time we are reaching out this way to Asia Pacific, but I do not believe it will be the last time. And we hope that you will join with us in trying to identify new clusters in formation that we can collaborative work on together. So Valentina, Melissa, who would you like to go next?
Michael, it was going to be Hyungmo Jeon of KMI.
Excellent. Hyungmo, over to you then. Do you have a presentation?
Yes, I'm Payun.
Yes.
I can share the file to you, maybe.
I think, Melissa, do you have it?
I do have it, if I could just have one moment to pull it up.
Okay, then I can wait.
Yeah, well, why don't you just start by telling everybody about the process
Yes.
you went through? Because you didn't come to us, you went to several clusters to try and gather information.
Okay. Can I Hyungmo from South Korea again? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Yes. This is a little weird to me. Okay. Also, however, actually, we are make some trying to make a cluster from the few years ago. So I tried to contact. I have contacted Michael about to learn from their cluster, and I joined this cluster, BlueTech cluster from last year. So this is my second time to join this seminar, maybe this seminar, and I currently we are still make a cluster information. So it takes some time, but maybe in few years, maybe 2 years or 3 years, I hopefully this will be working rightly. Okay, this is my file. Start again. So first, would like to introduce Korea Maritime Institute. Next slide. Yeah, we are a national policy institution about fishery and maritime. We start as a national research center for shipping policy. From this, at the time, we just think about shipping, like the ocean shipping, ocean going. It was that, and then next slide. We extend our area to port operation and marine and ocean and fishery in 1997. From that time, we changed our name to Korea Maritime Institute. So this is our real start. Next slide, please. So this is our function. So first, we are the only national governmental policy making institution in South Korea. So we make some national policy about fishery, maritime, port operations, and ocean environment, also ocean law. And also we make some communication and network with our educational institution like a university or a high school. So we are trying to expand about the ocean and fishery to all over our country. Next slide. This is our organizational structure. So we have 5 research division actually. I'm not sure you can see my mouse. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Yes. So this is a 5 research division, one general policy research division, marine policy, fishery, maritime industry, and port research. This is not actually research division. This is about the business division. Next slide. So in marine policy research division, we are working on the marine environment and tourism and marine law. So in case of this, nowadays, we have some serious problem in the marine environment, like I'm not sure in United States, but we have some big problem with the plastic garbage in ocean. So there are lots of plastic garbage in ocean, microplastics. Also, we have some problem about the air, the dust air from our country and from China. So we have trouble with the air problem. Yes, that is one of our region. We are very familiar with the mask from the few years ago. So this time in Corona-19, we are very positive impact of the previous experience of the mask. This is our study. And next slide. Next slide. And the other division is fishery. Fishing industry is one of our major industry in South Korea. So we have a very big fishing boat, fishing vessel, and fishing vessel fleet. Also, we have lots of people who are working on fishery area. So this is very important division. Next slide. Also, we are a very big port in South Korea. Busan is the sixth largest container port in the world. And you know, South Korea is actually a kind of island because of North Korea. I can show the map in pure. I can show the map, but South Korea actually is geographically connected with China. We have North Korea in our north area, so it is not easy to send our product or good from from South Korea to Europe or China by the road or by the train. So we have only way to send our product to another country is the shipping or airline. So we are very big port in our area. We have lots of ports in our area to send our import and export. Next slide. Yes, so we think about also even cluster of Korea. We are in information, but next slide. This is world map, and this is the South Korea and United States, and the red dot is Busan, Japan, China. So we have a very good position in maritime because we have a very beginning of the Pacific trade lanes. Also, we are beginning to the Europe trade lanes. So Busan is very big container terminal, not just import and export. It's about the kind of hub terminal. That means we have some kind of the transit cargo. For example, from the United States, the big ship, big vessel is coming to the Asia. You can come to Busan port, and then you can share the cargo in small size and send the several country from here. Likewise, we can collect all of cargo to here and send to the United States. So this is kind of the hub and spoke strategy. So Busan is very important place for global trade lanes. Next slide. And Busan is the second largest city in South Korea. You can see that this is North Korea and South Korea. So as I told before, we can send our product or we can send our goods to the Europe or China or Russia by train or by road because of North Korea. So we have only send the product only by the ship. Yeah, we can use the airlines, but you know, airline is not very popular transportation mode about big cargo. Next slide. So as I told, Busan is second largest city of South Korea, about 3 million populations, and the world's third largest international transshipment cargo port, not just in export and import. Also, nationalized fishery port market and processing facility. About 30% of Korea fishery port market is in Busan. Also, 64% of fishery processing facilities are located in Busan. Also, a very big marine tourism and leisure place. So this is Busan, a very potential area. This is Busan map of Busan. This is Busan New Port and Gamcheon Port and the South Port. South Port is about the fishery port and North Port. And this is the ocean cluster area. We have information. Next slide. In that ocean cluster, there are lots of national institutions about the ocean and marine and fishery and shipping. For example, this is Korea Maritime Institute. This is our institute is here, and the KIOST is Korea Institute for Ocean Science and Technology. They are all about the ocean technology and science located here. Also, there are equipment about the maritime, like the shipping and shipbuilding. Also, this is for oceanography and especially and environment and tourism and cruise terminal. So this is a really good place about the really good cluster for all about the ocean. But you can see, actually there is no industry. There's no company. Only research institution or university or museum, no companies. This is our major problem of this cluster. Next slide. So for this region, we are building, we are on construction about the ocean innovation cluster over here, almost center of the cluster. Next slide. Yeah, this is our blueprint about the space, our cluster. We finished already. We already finished our design about basic design, and we are from the next year we'll start our construction for 3 years. So from the 2021 to 2023. So we are building this building. We are giving the space. We will provide space for companies. For example, this manufacturing and the storage area, and research area, and business area, and convention area, and meeting room. And we are making some connection with about the company in Busan area together, and in area in Seoul. We try to gather the company in this area. Next slide. And not just building. We think about the kind of organization for making some facilitating all about this cluster company, institution, research institution, and Busan city, also in university in the area of Busan. So to facilitate for marine industry in Busan innovation, also we think about there are lots of universities in Busan area, like the National Maritime University in here, and Busan University and Bugyeong University. They're all about their major area, all about is the maritime. So we are trying to make some education network between institution and institution and university and company. For example, most of in our company in area about the maritime and fishery is very small. The company size is very small. About the working people is about the 70% of a company. So people is only five person or 6, and their business year is only 5 years, 4 years, very small and very short experience. So it is not easy to get or easy to hire the good people or experienced people in their company. So we try to make a connect with the university and company. The university can send their graduate school student to the company, make some education. This is one of our education strategy, and we have two R&D. Because in case of the South Korea, many of our R&D about the ocean and the shipping is from the government. So we are lots of money to R&D money to this area, but it is not easy to get this R&D project for small company. So we are trying to help them to get good R&D project and make some good result. Next slide.
Next.
Also, this is the cooperation between in area of Busan. We have, as I said, we have a university here, the Busan University, Bukit University, and Maritime University, and we have a research institution here. Also, we have the regional government, like Busan city, and this is the central government in the Busan. So we try to get together and make one cluster to them. Next slide. So this is basic organization idea about the new cluster. So we have make some board people from Plum City Corporation, a research institution, and university like this. And we are trying to do a team about facilitate the team. So team leader, business projector, communication R&D technology manager, and we try to get the company from this area about ocean area. So and we as ocean also we are trying to build the Ocean 300 consulting committee from the university and from the anchor company, the big company, and also research institution here. So we can this committee will help the small company to their R&D project or their business. It takes some time. We have started this project about 1.5 years ago, but still information. Maybe it takes 1 or 2 more years to finish our project. After the project, I hope there will be a good cluster in Busan area. Thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I was able to visit you in your building and some of the nearby buildings, and it's very impressive what you're building. And as you do that, hopefully some of your young companies will be able to work with some of our companies in the United States, and we'll find really business to business opportunities. So thank you for that presentation, and thank you for being an international cluster supporter this year of our BlueTech Week. Mr. Kao, we have been talking with one of your colleagues, Daniel, for some time, and we're interested to learn more about what is being thought about in Taiwan. You're a very advanced country, and we look forward to your presentation so that we can learn more about what you're doing and thinking about how we can work together.
Okay, can you hear me?
We hear you perfectly.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear my voice?
We hear you perfectly.
Okay, good. Yes, Michael tried to contact with us, but not successful. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my first time to join the cluster, so I'm just learning more how to do my best to join with and contribute to the cluster. And I am the senior professor. I'm a senior professor of the university in Taiwan, and my university name is the Cheng-Kung University, the second one in Taiwan, located in the Tainan city. Tainan city is south of Taiwan. Please show the other file of the THL. Please change the other file because I will briefing about the Tainan Hydrogen Laboratory.
So did you send us 2 different files? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Yes.
Is this the one that's up, the one that you would like? These are the 2 files I have.
Yes, I say the other one because this one is the briefing of the university, but I will yes, this one.
So this one, the introduction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Of THL. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. First of all, I say sorry because this region is the draft region. Just only for reference at today's meeting, and then I will correct it. And submit again. And sorry, China Hydraulic Laboratory is have 70 years, 70 years for coastal engineer research experience by means of the physical modeling and numerical modeling and the field observation academic research method. Please, next page. And this institute is a China Hydraulic Laboratory. It's consists of the water resource agents of the Ministry of Economic Affairs and National Cheng Kung University. And we have organization not only for research and development, and also we have provided some service for the industrial. Especially the China Hydraulic Laboratory have a large-scale physical modeling laboratory facility can provide to the hydraulics engineer and the ocean engineer technology industrial for R&D experiment. Of course, including the simulation of the tsunami. As you know, 2004 and 2004, the Sumandala have the series of the tsunami, and the Japan television station have take the video for simulation for education for the simulation of the tsunami to the citizens is carried out in my laboratory. And next page, please. And this physical modeling, we have the very, I think is a top of the world, top one of the world. The super wave plume was 300 meter long and 5 meter wide and 5 meter depth. This equipment can be carried out about 1 meter height and the peak of 2.5 to 4 seconds. And we have the other big facility is near shore wave basin. This basin is 100 meter long and 6 meter wide and 1.5 meter depth. The equipment with the 10 units long crest wave generating can be simulated with the irregular wave. Of course, we have the other facility. For example, middle-sized observation flume, shallow water basin, and the thermal diffusion basin, and so on. Next page, please. Next. Yeah, okay. Of course, Taiwan is a small island. When the end of the Second World War, millions of people removed from China to Taiwan. We have to face the food and water resource shortages of problems. So we have to set up the islands types of the formulation. So we have set up many of the field investigation, including the land and the auction and the auctions. We about 25 years ago, we have established a complete database system for big data analysis from the long-term observation data of the whole region of Taiwan, and including the land and the marines, and has rich professional analysis experience and capabilities. So we use this technology to developing forward developing about AI intelligent artificial intelligence technology for the water and the ocean technology. And next page, please. Yes, please. So not only for the field investigation, but also we have the water environment resource management. Of course, Taiwan even the heavy raining islands, but with the high mountain and the small and we cannot catch this water storage as well. So Taiwan is also the water resource shortage islands. So we have to develop several of the water and how to use the uses, and we have the increase in and the creative our many innovation and many technology for solve the water problems. Next, please. Yes, I think this is a more industrial interesting. Since 2002, because the economic is faced to the transform for the knowledge-based economics. So the governments in Taiwan is also recognize these programs we have to transfer. So we use the knowledge economic based on this concept. We set up the Water Professional Enterprise Information and Incubation Center. And we try to, and we do it for intellectualize for the water professional enterprise, and to industrialize and commercialize the water professional knowledge. Of course, we have the several mission to help the enterprise of the Taiwan company to how to transport this technology and the knowledge to the companies. And the next, please. Next page, yes. Yes, as you know, in Taiwan, we without any resource, of course, including the energy. No, please check the. No, yeah. Yes, this page, please. Yes, about 15 or 16 years ago, the people, in order to increase agriculture and the food productions and the development the economic in Taiwan, the surface water resource were insufficiently developed. So people overpumping groundwater and coast induce the land subsidence. As you know, Taiwan is located in an area with the high frequency of earthquake, and it's not easy to find a site for construction of water reservoirs. In order to solve these difficult problems of water resource developments, the government used the Taiwan's mature industrial technology to formulate and promote the development of water-saving industries, and emerging industrial and emerging water industrials, and the seawater desalination, and the smart water management, and so on. So the then subsidence, the problems make us face the challenge of the technology knowledge. So we conduct create the many industrial and water technology.
Mr. Cao, I have a question.
Yes.
You're about halfway through your presentation, and it's been almost 12 minutes. I think I'm pleased to hear that both ocean and water is important for your region. I wonder if you could talk to us about how industry will get involved. That really is, I think, the critical component for us. We won't be able to remember all of the assets you have.
Yes.
So I wonder if you could skip forward and talk about how you're working with industry and how clusters might be able to work with you.
Yes, because next one is my presentation is about the ocean energies. We we join together with the industrial company and the research academic, and we have the several associations to help us the private company, and we support the academic and the knowledge to them. Okay, so
yeah,
as
that
you know,
sounds great. Are you working with foreign companies, or are these Taiwanese companies only?
Most of the Taiwanese company, but now we are trying to extend into the foreigner company.
Because I think that becomes very important. Part of what we're looking for, and I say we as both TMA BlueTech, but also the BlueTech Cluster Alliance, is where your companies may have technology that would be useful in the United States or in Australia, but also, and I see that our colleague from Australia is with us, and he's focused on ocean energy. So there are also Australian companies and US companies and Canadian companies that would be part of the BlueTech Cluster Alliance that are looking for partnerships. So maybe I could ask you to talk a little bit about how someone would work both with your institution and where you think you're going in terms of a cluster. That would be, I think, the most important information for you to impart to us.
Yes, good question. Yes, as you know, I'm the professional of the hydraulic and the ocean engineering professor.
Yes.
Normally, the problem of the water or blue or ocean technology or industrial, it depends on the condition. So it is very localized or customized technology. It's not just like a products of products line. It's have the technology. So I have to emphasize technology, knowledge, technology, and the professional knowledge is priority. So we can be provide the knowledge to the industrial. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And let me ask a question then. Are you moving toward creating a blue economy cluster in Taiwan? Is that in the future, do you think, both for your institution and the country?
Yes, actually this afternoon and later I will leave to Taipei because they have the water industrial association where we have a meeting in Taipei. The member of the association, just a very big cluster of the technology of the industrial company. We join together. Yes. So, I have, as you know, the water industrial or ocean marine industrial depends on the conditions of the water or dynamic response or the climate depends on. So customize is priority.
Well, I think that we will look forward to continuing to talk with you and with Daniel. And as you continue to think about creating a cluster, that's where we can probably plug in most effectively, and our companies as well. So if you can keep us informed about that, I would really appreciate it. And then I'm sorry that we cannot see the end of your presentation, but we need to move on to our Japanese partners as well. They have created a new institute, which was recently opened, and they have a video which they ask us to show. And so, Melissa, shall we show that at this point?
Yeah. Of course, I say sorry because this time is my first time to join this cluster. So you will be present? Sorry.
No, I think we're going to move to Japan now, and I appreciate the fact that you are with us for the first time. And so what we're trying to do is get a sense of what each country is doing. And I think you showed us some very interesting areas you're working in, both ocean and water. And now the question will be, as you go forward, if you began to create a cluster where academia, industry, and government come together to promote an entity that is more like what we are and what some of our other cluster partners are.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, okay. And I will be learning more about the blue technology clusters areas, okay?
Well, we look forward to working with you on that.
Okay.
So thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah.
We're going to move now to the Shizuoka province or prefecture in Japan. And I see that Professor Takashi Gojobori is with us, which is an honor. But I believe you would like us to play the video. Is that correct?
So nice to meet you again, and
Yes.
congratulations on the success of BlueTech 2020, even though it's virtual. And we are so much pleased to show the video to all of you. And in particular, as you pointed out, we focus on how we can make a cluster. Particularly, I would like to make emphasis on the fact that we have already more than 80 companies, institutions in the center of our organization. So I hope you enjoy our video.
Congratulations, great progress. All right, so Melissa, go ahead and start it. Melissa, do you know if there's sound?
There is sound. Can you hear it?
Yes.
would like to report on the Marine Open Innovation MAOI project that started last year in Shizuoka, Japan. I am Professor Hashimoto of Tokyo Institute of Technology, and I am a director and the general producer of MAOI Institute. Do you know Shizuoka Prefecture? Shizuoka Prefecture faces the Pacific Ocean between Tokyo and Nagoya and can be reached from both cities in 1 hour by Shinkansen. Shizuoka is a region rich in nature surrounded by Mount Fuji, which is the highest mountain in Japan, and Suga Bay, which is the deepest bay in Japan. Due to the depth and the cool water from the Mount Fuji and other mountains, Suga Bay has abundant biodiversity, and it is home to more than 40% of Japanese fish species. Various creatures inhabit the 2,500 meter deep sea. In addition, Shizuoka Prefecture has a well-developed industry economy with the fourth largest industry output and the highest production of food and pharmaceuticals in Japan. In particular, it can be said that it is the most suitable area for linking marine biotechnology to industrial promotion from the existence of Suga Bay, which has a diverse environment and biodiversity in Shizuoka, and the industrial appropriation of medical care and food. From this point of view, we launched the Marine Open Innovation Project in Shizuoka. We aim to promote the marine industry and serve as a global stronghold for protection of the marine environment. Our aim is to develop diverse industries by bringing together industry, government, academia, and the financial sector to promote BlueTech innovation. We focus on 4 main areas: fisheries, aquaculture, and food, and pharmaceuticals. We also expected expansion into the energy and environmental field. Shizuoka will become a global hub for the blue economy with a focus on sustainable oceans, while aiming to promote marine-related industries and conserve the precious marine environment. MAOI is the organization that Shizuoka Prefecture is leading this project and is mainly engaged in the following 3 marine-related activities. The first, promoting the blue economy. The second, developing and operating a marine R&D hub. The third, promoting partnership for all people involved in the ocean. This is the end of my presentation.
This is Takashi Kojobori, the Director in General of MAOI Institute, Marine Open Innovation Institute, who is also a distinguished professor at Taos. First of all, I would like to congratulate all on the great success of BlueTech event in the middle of the prolonged situation of COVID-19. It is my great pleasure to make further detailed introduction of MAOI Institute. Okay, let me start the slide. It is my great pleasure to make further detailed introduction of MAOI Institute, Marine Open Innovation Institute. Next slide. First, let me explain the organization of Maui Institute. The president is Dr. Tadashi Matsunaga, who is currently president of Japan Agency for Marine Earth Science and Technology, so-called JAMSTEC. Then general producer is Dr. Masahiro Hashimoto, who is professor at Tokyo Institute of Technology, and he just made presentation before myself. Then I'm Takashi Gojobori, Director General. Next slide. We have already established the Maui Forum in collaboration with Shizuoka Prefecture Government of Japan. More than 35 entities such as companies, institutions, and universities in not only Shizuoka Prefecture local area, but also all over the entire Japan. I'm sure that this Maui Forum will become a solid basis of formation of Blue Economic Cluster under the initiative of Maui. Of course, we are hoping that we can extend this activity to the rest of the world for soliciting international partnerships and collaborations. Next slide. As a center of the Maui cluster, geographically and administratively, we have newly established the Maui Park, Marine Open Innovation, Practical and Applied Research Center. As shown in the slide, we newly opened a complex of various purpose space at the second floor of Shimizu Marine Building near the Shimizu Port in Suruga Bay, along the Pacific Ocean. This complex of the space includes collaboration laboratories, multi-purpose space, reception, Maui Institute office, collaboration office, and discussion space. Next slide. More specifically speaking, geographically in particular, the Maui Park is surrounded by a variety of relevant and useful facilities and organizations. The red spot shows a location of Maui Park. The surrounding facilities include Shinokiku Container Terminal, JAMSTEC ship Chikyu as the mother port of this famous deep sea exploration ship, Sodeshi Container Terminal, international port for giant cruise ships, commercial and entertainment facilities, Tokai University Marine Research Ship, Tokai University Shimizu Campus, and the World Heritage Site called Nihon no Matsubara. Next slide. As one of the core activities of Maui, we are now constructing the platform called BISHOP, Blue Innovation of Shizuoka Open Data Platform. BISHOP consists of 4 major components of data science in relation to marine biotechnology and engineering. They are marine physico-chemical data, marine microbial library, environmental DNA, so-called eDNA, and metagenomics, and single-cell technologies for marine plastics related research for sustainable development environment. BISHOP is supported by the BISHOP Consortium that is composed of related universities and research institutions. Next slide. Maui has funding functions for promoting of research and development for industries and academia. We at Maui has publicly solicited proposal for research on consignment to create original technological seeds for Shizuoka Prefecture. A leading edge R&D carried out to contribute to industrial advancement and solving international problems. As shown here, in fiscal year 2019, 6 projects had been funded from a number of applications, and in fiscal year 2020, 2 significant projects were funded. Next slide. We have also funded the project for the subsidies for developing new products with utilization of marine resources and developing innovative aquaculture technologies. In fiscal year 2019, 5 projects are funded, and in fiscal year 2020, 1 project was funded so far. Next slide. Finally, I would like to conclude my presentation by stating that Maui has been selected as the secretariat organization of Association for the Future of Shizuoka's Beautiful and Bountiful Sea that has been initiated by Governor of Shizuoka Prefecture, Dr. Heita Kawakatsu. We at Maui strongly hope that we contribute to the international development of blue technologies and blue economy for sustainable development of our society from the standpoint of Japan. Thank you so much for your attention.
Well, congratulations on tremendous progress in the last year and all the new members. Greg, I think we'll turn it over to you to have some Q&A, and I see that Dennis Calvert is on. So why don't you get some reactions to these 3 presentations, and then we'll let Dennis present on what he's doing out in Asia.
Very fine, Michael. Thank you. And thank you to each of the presenters. And I think this is a very good review of some opportunities that we see very clearly. I think we might have some follow-up questions, so I'll be looking in the chat. If folks care to offer their question, I'd be happy to share that and ask. But my first question would go to each of the presenters to see if they could share with us where they plan to go from where they are now to where they would like to be. And it may well be, as we've just heard from Professor Gojibori, that the May Forum is doing quite well and is very well established, whereas we might look back to Mr. Cao and realize that in Taiwan, a very scientifically centered enterprise is searching, as is Mr. Joan in Korea, for some commercial opportunities. So let me first ask Mr. Joan and then Mr. Cao, if you have a plan in mind for how you're going to further bring in the industry to join what is already a well-positioned academic and technical center. So Mr. Joan, please.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yes, that is our major goal, to bring the company industry in our area. But you can see, as you can see, the building is not quite big. So some of them we will bring them in the building. We are trying to expand our network in all area of Busan, because in the area of Busan there's a lot of company about the ocean and the fishery. So we try to figure out how many companies in there. So we are now researching about how many companies in Busan area and near Busan area about the ocean and fishery and shipping. So, and second, we try to figure out their capability about their product, their technology, the manpower, and this is we are done now until now. So now next step we have to make some kind of association or some kind of I'm not sure about the exact expression, but about kind of association, about company association. So make some change the discussion, their opinion. Also, we are from this year we are trying to make some R&D project, big project, the national R&D project. For example, we are think about the national R&D project about the hydrogen from the sea area. We can use the wind power, make wind power, change the hydrogen, and bring the inland. This is take about 10 years until 2030. We make some project. So, and we try to bring the small company. Some company have the capability about the facility and equipment. Some company have their capability about the change the seawater to hydrogen, so it brings them in one company. So we are informative about the big project, and we will be launching in 1 or 2 years. This is one of our case project.
That's an excellent example of innovation and in very progressive technology being utilized. One follow-up question, please, Mr. Joan, if I may. Would the government be a sponsor to help to move this organization and this relationship that you would be looking for? Is there government programming that allows you to pursue that and then help to create your cluster?
There are two ways to help the kind of cluster from the government. One is they make some project funding. They make a project. Yes, so if a company apply the project, they can give the money as a project funding. It's one way. And secondly, it's not main government. It's about provincial government from Busan city. Busan city has some funding for the help to their small company in their area. So we can make some using combined with the accelerator. The accelerator is using the fund. They can help the company. So we are thinking to make some ocean fund. We call ocean fund. So we are already make ocean fund in 2 billion Korean won. So I'm not sure about 200 billion to 20 billion Korean won. So I'm not sure in US dollar, but about 0.2 billion US dollar, maybe. Yeah, for first year. And we will expand the fund size from the next year.
Well, that sounds very, very ambitious and very opportunistic. And I would imagine that through the consortium or through the collegial nature of the BlueTech clusters, there might be further advice to exchange between yourself and some of the current participants, current members, and other members of the BlueTech Alliance. May I ask then, Mr. Kao or Professor Kao, in your
Yes.
efforts to expand, to bring in industry, how would you see that happening in Taiwan?
Yes, Taiwan is surrounded by the ocean. So we, in earlier times, we have this, the martial law. So we limit people to developing about ocean technology. But now, in this 40 years, we improved this. So now we are be rapid to developing about ocean technology. For example, we developing about a big data setup, observation systems, and also now we are developing about ocean energy, including the tidal current power or wave power energies, the seawater desalination industrials. And we have the successful technology and try to transform this to the industrial company for the industrial economical for economic. So so the other issues is we have to the marine environment protection. As you know, the most of the many waste garbage is a dispute of the Pacific Ocean. So we have the duty to promote how to solve this problem in Taiwan. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then Professor Gojibori, would you see in Japan a further development of your current cluster, which seems to have a great deal of success in the marine open innovation space? Do you have a plan to expand? Would you pick additional subjects? What is your growth plan for where you are right now?
Thank you so much, Craig. It's so nice meeting you again. And actually, the success so far from Maui has been done following your virtual plan, also kind of BlueTech colleagues, our rolling model. That's why we followed the kind of model that you are showing. And responding to your questions, yes, certainly we are determined to go further to develop, particularly partnership between our organization and the industry. Or more exactly speaking, as we say, not triple helix, maybe quadruple helix, like academia, government, and the industry. Then even we are soliciting partnership from financial institutions such as bank. And also, fortunately, by the support of Prefecture of Shizuoka government, we have a funding function. So therefore, we solicit kind of application for seeds from industries. Then through our selection process, we pick up certain nice application, particularly from industries. Then we give certain amount of money for R&D. In particular, from now on, since we have a headquarters called Maui Park near Suruga Bay along Pacific Ocean, we are going to have a space for those industrial people to work together with us. And maybe in the coming months, we're going to solicit application for the industry partners to work with us in that spot. So in this way, we like to make a strong tie. But more importantly, I think those partnership has agreement or sharing the important concept of SDG. And in particular, we are so much supporting the coming 10 years for ocean science in developmental, sustainable development. I think even though industrial partner have to understand, have to share the concept, I think this is most important part of blue economy that I learned from BlueTech colleagues, actually. Thank you so much.
Oh, very good to hear. Very good to hear. And I
Greg,
appreciate. Yes, Michael.
I apologize for jumping in, but we had invited two of our member companies, Dennis Calvert with BioLargo, who is more on the water side, and Mark Gunderson, which has a very unique vessel, just to give a couple of ideas of our companies so that that our potential partners in Asia could think about these kinds of companies and how they might be able to work together. And because we've been listening and hearing so much, and very importantly, our goal was to understand our cluster potential partners in Asia, I think we ought to transition and let Dennis and Mark give their introductions and into what they're doing, and then maybe just so we don't run out of time, you can help us kind of think through then the end ways to collaborate.
Very fine, Michael. Thank you.
So Melissa, Dennis, I see that you're on. I don't know if you're muted, but do you have a presentation, or are you going to talk more generally?
Has that, or I can do it either way.
Excellent. Go for it, man.
Great. I'm going to cover a lot of territory very quickly, and thank you, everyone, and thank you for having us, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. So I want to tell two stories. I want to highlight our work in Canada. I want to highlight our work in South Korea and the Asian markets, because they're both examples of a small company. You know, we're an emerging technology company, early stage revenues, got a big future. We love what we're doing, but we're innovating in such a way that we made a decision early on that if we didn't invest in our community and our circle of influence, that we would be alone. And the challenges that we face are so daunting that one of the things that we think is critical to our success is the embracing of the concept of a cluster and a community of innovators that can come beside you and support you. So we call ourselves an innovator and sustainable environmental solutions provider, right? What does that mean? It started out as a technology shop that became a solution provider, meaning we kind of went vertical. And that's out of necessity, of course. What we learned is that while we have this great technology, we understand it, we know it, and it's beautiful, and it's got this big future, we had to figure out how to get it into the market. And, you know, that's easy to say, very difficult to do. So it's a little over a decade's journey. We are now disrupting some markets, which is awesome. But the unique thing is that we decided to invest in multiple platform technologies over an extended period of time. So we've had a massive commitment to an R&D. So we have 4 operating units. Each of these feature a key part of the innovation portfolio. Now we actually have about 7 or 8 technologies now. We started out inventing them all in-house, and over time we acquired some. And again, part of that is this idea that we had a vision, a big vision for clean water, clean air, advanced wound care, healing wounds that won't heal, cleaning up water that is the kind of water that no one can clean up, taking contaminants that are very difficult. We even have a PFAS technology that's per and polyfluoroalkali. We have an engineering group. And again, we're a small company, but we've got about, 26 dedicated staff, another 10 subcontractors. And it's just an incredible commitment to creating, as this slide points out, an ever-expanding intellectual property portfolio, all centered on the idea that nature will show us the way, this idea that we can find sustainable solutions that are environmentally sensitive, friendly, safe, eco-friendly, that can solve really big challenges like clean water and clean air, and keeping people healthy and safe from infection. So let's go to the next slide. Here we go. So it's a decade of collaboration. So 2 stories that I think are really, really critical. First is, years ago, it's about 6 years ago, we decided we really had sort of came up with an idea. And the idea was adding chemistry to electrochemistry and using energy as a catalyst to create a superoxidative reaction. And we developed what we call the AOS. Okay, the AOS is an advanced oxidation process. It's a system that destroys contaminants in an incredibly efficient way. And so it was so cool, right, in our minds, it was so cool that we actually formed a company. Now listen to this. We set up a company, and we set it up in Canada, right? So we're a small U.S. public company. Set up a Canadian subsidiary, recruited a CEO in Canada, and as a result of that, we then became a participant in a water incubator, essentially, at the University of Alberta. And since that inception, we've had probably 32 interns. We've hired, 7 or 8 PhD students, helped them start their career. We've received now 79 federal grants. It's such an unusual collaboration. And one of the reasons it works is because we made a commitment to invest in our ecosystem, meaning it's part educational, it's part industrial, it's part environmental, it's part this idea, right, that we were going to create technology that had a chance to go all over the world. And as a result of that, the community embraced us. And we'll point this out because that's the key. You know, we became a trusted supplier, somebody that said, we're going to do it well, we're going to do it right. And it's a remarkable journey. Now, I'm going to fast forward. Just about 6 months ago, we put our first international joint venture together with a company, and it's referenced up at the top of this slide, with BKT and Tomorrow Water. This is a great example. We were brought into a technology showcase for a water cluster here in California, in the United States, and we were presenting one of our platform technologies, and to industry, to customers, right, to customers. But in the audience, was another vendor. That happened to be BKT. Well, it turns out BKT is a leading wastewater treatment provider in South Korea. 20 years experience, substantive, privately held, very successful, composed of high tech people and a commitment to do good in their community. As a result of that presentation, that led to a discussion. 25 meetings later, we formed a joint venture with BKT and Tomorrow Water, and we set up an international manufacturing facility. And just a week ago, we agreed with the mayor of Daegu to establish a tenancy. We set up an operation in the city of Daegu with an emerging water cluster that's backed by the federal government. Again, if you looked at our business plan when we started, that was not in there, right? And yet what happens is two things happen. One is that you find yourself investing in the community, establishing relationships with like-minded people. And the first and most important thing is that we establish a relationship of trust. That trust allows you to come together in an international market where intellectual property protection is limited. You really have secrets and trust. And as a result of that, that venture just kicked off a few months ago. We're very excited about it. We think we've got a great partner and an opportunity to serve that regional market. In the portfolio, as I said, we have about nine technologies, but this is a new one. I mention it because it's got an international opportunity. We developed a wound care product that was registered, cleared a 510K clearance with the FDA in September of about a year ago. And as a derivative, we came up with a disinfectant for PPE. A disinfectant for PPE. That's a liquid spray that you can spray face masks. It's an iodine copper complex, and it's been proven to inactivate the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And that product launched really just in the last month or so. And we're finding traction. This also creates a significant international opportunity. As we say, as who would have thought a year ago that 90% of the world's population would be wearing a face mask? And who would have thought that having an extra layer of protection in the control of a consumer, of a healthcare frontline worker, with a complex that's proven to inactivate the virus with an incredible safety rating, right? That's the key feature. Let's go to the next one. Again, we represent a diversified portfolio. We also developed an AEC, right? That's a device that extracts PFAS. PFAS is that forever chemical that's stuck in the water. A number of industrial chemical producers produced a nonstick coating product that was sold for 28 years into industry. It's now estimated that it touches 98% of the world's population. In hotbeds like California, right? California, PFAS is such a significant issue that there's now a mandate to clean up water wells. Well, just in the Orange County market, which is where our headquarters is, Orange County is Southern California, south of Los Angeles, just north of San Diego. In that market, 70 wells have been detected to have PFAS. The estimated price tag to clean them up is about 25 years at a cost of $1 billion. We're the cutting edge of taking PFAS out of water. This is a global market opportunity. As a result of our relationship with TMA, that investment in community, right? We've now are entertaining a partnership based in Europe that's a direct contact because of the work that we've done with TMA. It's a testimony to that sense of community. Especially as a small company, you just can't be everywhere. One of the first early commercial products is what we call Cupridyne Clean. It's an iodine copper complex that's used to eliminate odors and VOCs. VOCs are volatile organic compounds, things like hydrogen sulfide, fatty acids, and mercaptans and ammonias. It's incredibly effective in inactivating those compounds. It's now being adopted by the waste industry all over America. It's the #1 revenue producer at this stage, but we still feel like we've only scratched the surface. Let's go to the next one. So here's our venture, right? So our new office is just opened in Daegu, and we're so pleased to be with what we would consider highly technical organization, a significant commercial success in their history, but most important, people. It's that relationship that makes it work, especially when it comes to intellectual property, something that we've cherished so carefully and invested so heavily in, right? Next. The AOS, this is that water technology out of Canada. Again, it's an astonishing thing. You know, a year ago, we had 16 interns for a summer. 16 interns. Well, what the heck are you doing, right? Well, the answer is we're validating technology. It's an incredible journey. We just got our first customer. It took about 6 years, and it's a big customer, and it's a beautiful site. We've got regulators on site. We've got multiple academic institutions involved. I happen to serve on the board at Water UCI, which is University of California, Irvine, part of the local trade group, part of the TMA group. We're scholarship sponsors. Listen to this. We're scholarship sponsors at multiple research institutes around the United States. That means we're contributing, right, to establish relationships with these highly credible research institutions to establish ourselves as a scientific leader. Next. Our first customer, it's an organic farm in Alberta. It's a beautiful situation. Behind it, there's another 90 clients, right? So it's a nice start. The way we think about the water industry is pick a spot where we shine brightly, do it really well, make a little money, land and expand, and it becomes a jumping off point for the rest of the industry. That's what we're doing. Next. And then I think the final, there we go. So again, a small company with a broad reach. You know, my recommendation, not the right word, my encouragement for everyone that's an innovator, everyone that's a cluster, is two things. One is it's hard. It's a difficult task. These clusters represent this integral piece of the puzzle that allows for the connectivity between companies and funding, between companies and customers. Without it, I think, the success and failure rate, the disparity is huge. Without those clusters, it would be worse. I think they're a critical part of the socioeconomic cycle that allows innovation to find the connected point between customers and resources to find their way through the maze, especially in the water business. It's incredibly difficult. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, from our perspective, we think of innovation as a multi-pronged approach. What we represent is science and engineering, which means we've got the talent to solve many problems, not just one. And the cycles for adoption are so varied that we decided that the way we were going to succeed is continually innovating now, which has been 13 years. So 13 years. As a result, we've developed this incredibly valuable portfolio. It's allowed us to sustain ourselves and now encroach in these market opportunities to create high impact technology innovation that has a chance to disrupt these markets to make the world a better place to live. So that's BioLargo.
Dennis, thank you very much. Sorry, you go ahead, Greg.
No, I think we just had an echo, Michael. Go right ahead, please.
Okay. Dennis, that was great. And I think your emphasis of the work you've done in Canada, the work you're doing in South Korea, the work you're inaugurating over in Europe shows, I think, a great example of a very innovative cluster company and how we want to work with cluster partners in other countries. So thank you very much for sharing that. And thank you for being a board member and also a sponsor of BlueTech Week. Thank
you. I mean, really, I feel so humble in all these situations. We couldn't do it without the help. I mean, it's just invaluable. So. This shows, I think, how broad our membership base is. And it's so interesting to see what the Shizuoka province, the prefecture, is doing, how quickly you've added members, and it's very admirable. I would like to turn now, and we've asked a company on the ocean tech side to speak. And Mark, can you introduce Marine Advanced Robotics, please? This is Mark Gunderson who's in Northern California, and you can see our members are in various places. Dennis is about an hour and a half north of us in Orange County, California, and Mark Gunderson is up in the San Francisco Bay Area. We have members across the United States and a number internationally as well.
Great. Thank you, Michael, and thank you everybody for allowing me a chance here to tell you a little bit about our company and what we're doing in the APAC region. Next slide, please. So our company is Marine Advanced Robotics. Like Michael said, we're a San Francisco Bay Area-based marine robotics manufacturer. We have a patented technology called WAM-V, which stands for Wave Adaptive Modular Vessel. We sell that along with the associated control systems and the hardware, and we're currently in about 10 countries around the world. We have a small team of talented engineers and operational folks to ensure that we produce some of the most robust and reliable tech solutions on the market today. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the technology, just so you, for those of you that aren't familiar with it. The WAM-V is really designed to have a lot of flexibility in terms of the applications that it's good for, and also it's really designed to have a stability involved in it. So we kind of treat waves like bumps. So think of a suspension system on a boat, and basically we treat, like I said, those waves as bumps. And the result is you end up with this very stable central platform. So that's really important for things like multi-beam sonars when you're doing a survey and you want to do it in higher sea states, when you want to launch and recover other assets like underwater vehicles or aerial vehicles. Our technology is also modular. So that image in the middle there, that's the 16-foot variant. You can take that apart in about 3 minutes and then box it in about 30 minutes. And you'll see that box on the top right image there. That's a standard ULD size 11, so you can put it pretty much in any air cargo plane and ship it anywhere in the world pretty easily and pretty quickly. The technology itself is also very scalable. We've built them anywhere from 2.5 meters up to the largest variant was a 30-meter variant. And we've also did a design for a customer at about 40 meters for potential oil and gas customer. Kind of covered the stabilized central platform, and again, big key thing there, takeaway there is that you have a stable platform for open ocean conditions or for even nearshore conditions. When wind and waves kick up, the stability of our platform really shines in the quality of the data that we put out. Bottom right, again, so this modular lightweight payload, our lightweight platform really results in a very hydrodynamically efficient design such that WAM-Vs take a lot less energy to move through the water. A good example is our 16-foot variant. At about 3 knots, it's only consuming in the order of about 60 watts per side. So, it doesn't take much to move these things along. Next slide, please. So some of the capabilities I talked about, again, the sensor platform, the multi-domain aspect. One of the other things we've been getting more involved in recently is the force multiplier aspect. So again, you have these crewed vessels out there, and our thought is to add unmanned systems to it so that you're essentially leveraging what's already out there. And I'll touch briefly on one of our case studies, which I think summarizes that pretty well. Next slide. Here are just a few of the WAM-V variant examples. The 8-foot variant, you can take part and actually take it as checked baggage on a plane. So that's 8 feet long, 4 feet wide, boxes up into sizes that you can check as baggage. And then all the way up to the 100-foot variant on the far right there. That was the technology demonstrator. And that one had about 5,000 nautical mile range. Next slide, please. So again, some of our products and services, the core of our technology is the WAM-V platform itself and the stability and all the other advantages that it brings. But also we've been getting more and more onto the software side in terms of what goes along with that. Some of the control systems to do things like hydrographic survey, to do launch and recovery of aerial and unmanned assets, and then to also work in conjunction with crewed vessels. So as we get further and further along as a company, we're starting to develop more and more of the actual software that goes into it. And then recently, we also expanded into robotics as a service, where we do hydrographic surveys and we do other events or other services for company where we're delivering the data. That's the product. So some companies, for them, it makes more sense to bring us on than it does to actually buy the asset. Next slide, please. So I want to just cover a few quick case studies just so you all get an idea of some of the things our customers are doing with our platforms. This is the U.S. Army dive team. They use it for critical marine infrastructure inspections. They also use it for stuff like, for those of you that have been to Hawaii before, the USS Arizona Memorial, they used it to map that. Pier and piling inspections, and then also when they're trying to locate underwater obstacles or things that they're potentially looking for, they'll use it for that as well. This one you can put together on a beach and launch it. Basically, a couple of people can easily just put it together and push it out. Next slide, please. So this is a project we did for a contractor on a NOAA survey for Lake Huron. And the idea was to bring on two WAM-V assets with a crewed survey vessel to essentially create a much wider swath with the same number of people. So the hydrographer and the boat captain were on the crewed vessel, and the hydrographer was controlling 4 multi-beam sonars at once, along with the 2 WAM-Vs, to essentially have this 3x swath of hydrographic survey data. And in the bottom right image, you'll actually see the survey data in one instance of the acquisition software. This is the first time that had actually ever been done on a project where you can see the overlap in real time of all the sonars at once. And obviously, when you're doing a force multiplier, it's really critical that you know what you're collecting, especially when you're doing it in the way we do it, which is basically to stack it on next to the crewed vessel. You need to see all the data in real time. Otherwise, you have potentials for holidays, or you have the potential to have too much overlap, and then you're just essentially collecting more data than you need to. So by doing it that way, it really allows the hydrographer to make adjustments in real time as they're moving along. Next slide, please. So this is another case study where we actually did pipeline surveys. So there were a lot of crossings here in the United States in terms of oil and gas pipelines. And this is one of our customers uses their WAM-V to do those sorts of surveys. One of the key things for them was being able to do it in a flooded environment. So when we did this case study, it was with a 16-foot variant, but since then we've built them a 22-foot variant gas-powered so that they can do it in higher current situations. There are examples when crewed vessels are not allowed on the river, but they can actually put an unmanned vessel like the WAM-V on the river and do important pipeline surveys so that they can tell their customer if they're spanning pipelines and if they have to potentially shut them down. So it's a critical function during flooding events. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit about where we are. As I mentioned before, we are currently in about 10 countries. We have distributors in Australia, in Singapore, and in Canada. We're specifically looking at expanding in the APAC region. We have boats in Japan, South Korea, China, and Taiwan, as well as in Singapore and Australia. And particularly, we're looking to go into those countries where we already have assets. It really makes a big difference when you have product in country. We've seen it happen in Australia where through different partnerships with current customers, we're able to show potential new customers the product and actually give them real demonstrations. So that makes a big difference when you're trying to sell something, especially, these are high value products. So oftentimes it's a big chunk of money for a company to make this sort of investment, and most people like to see it before they buy it, right? So down there gives you a little bit of idea of some of our customers. Kyoto in South Korea is a great example of a company doing hydrographic survey work with the WAM-V. The Royal Australian Navy has one. They're doing a lot of autonomous surface vessel research work, and then there are some others, other universities doing different things as well. Next slide.
Hey, Mark, we are
Yes.
running out of time, so
Well,
good.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
So we've obviously come up against the 7 o'clock. We can go a little bit over, but Craig, if you want to take a few minutes and kind of talk about your thoughts, because we will be coming back on Wednesday to talk about 3 specific areas. One is autonomous platforms and sensors, and then offshore renewable energy, and then ocean cleanup and protection, which I think will be of interest to our potential partners out in Asia. And so we want to kind of discuss in more detail those 3 areas with you on Wednesday. And we'll ask again a couple of our companies to come in. But rather than have the presentations, we want to have more of a discussion with you about what are your needs and what things are you producing in autonomous vessels and sensors. What is your need? What are you doing related to offshore energy? And then the third area is ocean protection and cleanup. We have companies in all of those areas, but we want to find out what your needs are, what you think your strengths are. So again, we can find ways to collaborate. That's what we're really trying to do. If you were with us every day, we're doing this for 5 hours a day for the 5 days. But what we've done is create 2 essentially 2-hour periods where we hopefully can hit some high points with you. So that's what we'll do on Wednesday. But Craig, we've left you very little time, and I apologize for that. But perhaps you could kind of talk to us about what you've seen and what you think we might want to walk away thinking about, particularly as we come back on Wednesday with our partners in Asia Pacific.
Thank you, Michael. And my perspective comes from certainly my day job with NOAA, where my responsibilities are for the research programs there, climate, weather, and oceans. And then also my activity with the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. If I recite what I heard from our colleagues in Korea, Taiwan, and Japan, the subjects continue to come up about looking at new energy sources or renewable energy sources, whether it was hydrogen, whether it was hydrokinetic and wave energy, or an aggregate of all of the above. I heard also then from Dennis and from Mark, innovation in areas that are also resonant with where the UN Decade is going with clean water and then also autonomy. And just a couple of notes about each of these. If anyone were to visit, as I'm sure you gentlemen have, any of the recent meetings of the Our Ocean, the UN Ocean Conference, the Economist Ocean, every one of these meetings comes up with the same challenges, and you're prepared to address them. You have the technology to address them. And to be bringing the market along with product that's ready to address them is an advantage that will surely be rewarded in this coming set of years that we're calling this UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. I think we're going to have a lot of free advertising for the ocean industry community because of this decade, where the governance of 150 nations that are members of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, and where we have all 190 member states of the UN united behind this effort. So I think this time of innovation is ripe and the opportunities in front of us are keen. I'll just note in terms of the comments that were shared by Professor Gojabori, the additional to the triple helix of the finance industry, very important. Very important. And I think there are variants of the triple helix that we're seeing all around the world as we expand. We also heard the very similar observation from Europe, and I think that's a very progressive and wise pursuit. From BioLargo, I think there's an amazing application of chemistry in so many different directions. As long as that common theme is held constant, I would imagine it's easier to have your employees, your teams, and your grantees working in the same general direction, but with innovation in mind, you're finding these opportunities to fill what I guess our friends in the X Prize would call market failures. There's a need, no one is filling that niche. You find the means to fill that niche, and you go ahead and with a sense of community and trust, and by using the referral of the clusters, you find colleagues to go ahead and market your newfound solutions. Everyone has the problem. Can you find that solution that fits that one person's need? And then for Mark with the Marine Advanced Robotics, a very unique platform. And if I look back at what we're doing here domestically in the United States, of having an instruction to go and map our entire U.S. exclusive economic zone, much of it would be quite capable of being performed by the type of vehicle that you have here with swarm and autonomy, and also intelligent vehicles where your software can help guide those vehicles to be doing splits and greater resolution in areas that might require more dynamic examination. But then also we see that the world wants to map the world's ocean in the Seabed 2030 project, and the development of this technology in time for that activity, I think, is ripe once again. So the more I spend time and get involved, Michael, with the company you keep in these very innovative and dynamic organizations, I get stimulated with the belief that we're going to be able to solve many of the problems that we have facing the oceans over the next decade. And I think with the opportunity for our friends in Taiwan, Korea, Japan, to be joining along and start to expand a global network, a truly global network. Yeah. Everyone who participates does well and finds greater opportunity, as we've seen in the example from Dennis and from Mark. And I just wish everyone the best in the continuation of this pursuit. Thank you.
Craig, you do such a wonderful job of wrapping up. I just want to do a quick shout out. I see that Aaron Davidson is on the phone. Aaron is the U.S. Commercial Service here in San Diego. We had Joyce Tang on the phone, who is out in Taiwan. And we had Victoria Yu with the International Trade Administration, all three part of the Department of Commerce. And Victoria has recently taken on responsibility for Asia Pacific for the International Trade Administration. So you're getting the attention of not just our cluster, but U.S. government agencies, NOAA, International Trade Administration, the U.S. Commercial Service. All of us are joined really in wanting to find ways to collaborate. And so we look forward to continuing this dialogue on Wednesday from 5 to 7, where we will drill down with you in 3 areas. Again, robotics and sensors, and then on offshore renewable energy. And then the third area will be ocean cleanup and protection. And we really would ask you to come to us on Wednesday and let's have a dialogue. We will ask a couple of our companies to be there, because knowing that solutions exist are helpful, but it may also jog you to say, I have a company that would be a great partner, because that's what we're looking for. It's not like our companies speak Chinese or speak Korean. They're looking for partners in all these countries. And I think that's the magic, is that you have technology and needs, and we have technology and needs. And now we need to find where they can come together. So thank you very much for joining us today, or tomorrow in your time, soon to be tomorrow for us. Craig, for you on the East Coast, thank you for being with us until 10 p.m. your time. And I think you're still slated to join us on Wednesday. If you're up for it, we look forward to that.
Yes,
but
indeed.
This is a wonderful first opportunity for us. And I hope that you may invite some of your colleagues that might be interested in those 3 specific areas. Again, robotics and sensors and offshore energy and ocean cleanup. There may be people that you're dealing with, your colleagues, that would like to engage in this dialogue. So we will continue to do this from year to year, either virtually or in person, in hopes that we will create wonderful collaborative relationships going forward. So thank you very much for joining us today, all of you, the 17 people that are still with us. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to working with our colleagues and friends in Asia Pacific, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday again. So thank you very much for this evening.